Alrighty. Hey guys, welcome. I'm Panda, and this is Politics and Calipers. This is my third live stream. The co-star, well, he doesn't have a name yet, so we call him no name, is away hiking, and so I'll be holding down the fort for while I can. It's gonna go back over last night. I was talking about voting in America, but my mic situation was pretty crappy, so gonna redo that, and then start working on the plotter using the optical breadboard I have. Go over some different Jordan Peterson things because everyone's going over his most recent video, which is pretty laughable and pretty amusing. But there's an older one that I had more fun dissecting, and again my volume was pretty bad. So we'll go over that, and yeah, I think it should be a lot of fun. Let's get into it. As we know, the Supreme Court has like Barry Sanders or some great running back just decided to run back rights here in America pretty quickly in ways that are going to be pretty scary. This case from, where's this case out of? Is it Louisiana? There's that case. There's the Arizona one they ruled last year. Which case was I looking for? There's that uphold. This is why I shouldn't open up tabs because I'll get lost in it. Here, case to dramatic change. It's the idea is whether or not Supreme Courts and executive branches could have sway over the congressional maps that the legislature produces, irregardless of what outcomes that map may have, which is pretty dangerous. There's a rule that no entity besides the state legislature can set the rules regarding federal elections. That cannot stop a governor from vetoing it, or Supreme Courts even. This brings up one idea of like what should be state and what should be federal. There definitely needs to be a federal rule book. I don't think that like each state can't have unique elements to it. However, some regulation around polling density and pieces like that should be federal law. However, not going to get passed. But this would be curtailing and pretty much ending it. If legislators had the only word on these maps, we would see Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Arizona, Nevada completely be unwinnable ever again based on whatever map they decide. We already have a problem where we don't exactly match up with popular vote to outcome and representation. We're one of the worst when it comes to like how many votes are needed versus outcome of seats. This has been a trend happening in other liberal democracies. The UK has had this grow. CPG had a video on it, but equitable sharing in the republic has not always happened, obviously, with the Senate heavily favoring small states, and the Electoral College just also favoring small states in general, but lack of representation and disenfranchising Republican Californian Republicans and Democratic Texans. They're not a good element. Do whatever they want. We have a problem when the state's courts, rogue state's courts. It's the time. What is the case name? That's what I haven't seen. We're going to quickly touch on how else the Supreme Court in recent years has also hampered it in general. It is pretty bad. Where did I put that? I'm not even putting it on the right reference screen. Alrighty. Yeah, so this is it. Article 1. Yeah, the independent state. Let's see if there's a Wikipedia on this. Brennan Center. That'll be cool. Let's see how far down the rabbit hole this guy is gonna have to go. Let's see here. Peterson gerrymandering congressional maps in North Carolina, which had surgical precision. Wisconsin electoral maps to throw either 2020 and elsewhere. The theory would be in the front and center of the Supreme Court, which has agreed to hear the case. Remember, it was on the shadow docket and then got put here, which had political implications. The Supreme Court is a political body. What is the independent? Reading of the Constitution pushed in recent years by a small group of advocates who have largely been super fucking powerful. Give state legislative wide authority to gerrymander and pass voting suppression laws. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually, if we go down this road, and maybe we won't, but history doesn't say good things about that. If states would bring back literacy tests and poll taxes, and obviously very discriminatory in outcome among both class and racial lines. And again, this is like an element of like states' rights in where the only outcome is discrimination. Like, no doubt, like giving states the rights to and not to weed. Okay, sure, it's not really a life or death thing. Obviously, the implications of legality, but this where it's fundamental. Yeah, that's not good. And that's been the merchant call since the 60s. It hasn't changed one bit. Oh, even marijuana. I don't really know if that could. Federally, it should be legal, obviously. Each state shall appoint manner. Reject the traditional reading. Consistent with these clause gives executive and absolute power to regulate federal elections. Again, as I was mentioning, there should be federal regulations around density of polling and some overarching status report. I don't think that's insane, but like minimums on security and stuff like that, absolutely. Process handling, that should be federal. For example, not counting mail-in ballots when they come in. Like, why? There's absolutely no need for that other than to set up a red mirage, which then helps bolster fraudulent claims. You'd be free to violate the state constitution. The courts could not stop them. So checks and balances right out the window. This is another element. Supreme Court ruled on the EPA 2 days ago and said they can't do their job. The checks and balances on oil is gone. Checks and balances from the Nestle case, where the child slaves, literal child slaves, could not sue them in the American court for profiting off that. That's kind of nuts. When it comes to it, checks and balances are not something that the Supreme Court has been putting in. They have been very intentionally stripping them out. And if you look at the Texas Republican platform for 2022, you see the same thing. No checks and balances, except for where they want to hold the strongest walls on needing highways for the rest of their lives. Extreme theories. This reminds me of the executive theory that George Bush had. I forget the lawyer who helped pass that, but essentially it came down to if the president did it, it was okay, and that's how we got waterboarding at Gitmo and Abu Ghraib, and completely violated Geneva rights and basic human decency and our own security, by the way. 15 years later, the idea just because it didn't happen once doesn't mean they won't try again. Looking back on it too, let's see. Robert, Chief Justice Roberts, who has become more centrist over time on the court, is not the proponent of this. He worked on Bush's 2000 election team, as well as Kavanaugh, but his entire career has helped undermine and gut the Voting Rights Acts. Prestigious courtship with William Rehnquist. Decades. Roberts was tasked with making the case against one of the most consequential voting rights laws in America. The House recently passed a bill extending the '65 Voting Rights Act that dismantled much of Jim Crow, showing up its key provisions after the 1980 Supreme Court. The 1980 Supreme Court and the 1970 Supreme Court was very different than the 1960s one. I forget who the major player change was, but the president then, Reagan, appointed and got the majority, and then immediately ran it back. Mr. Strott, yeah. Something has to be done to educate the Senate on the seriousness of the problem. He argued, put to the backbone, was not only constitutionally suspect, but also contrary to most fundamental tenets. I'd be curious what's actually even in that, but I can't imagine it would be something crazy. As he said the obviously. Well, he once described the Voting Rights Act as humiliating. Guys, this is the one dude that might make it a 5-4 decision, where we might have a chance at picking off one other justice, via arguments. That's the hope. Now you have to pick off two of the more conservative justices. This guy does not like this bill, and they could very much pass that through. Coupled with the fact that voting turnout by age. This is coupled by one of the wackiest elements of American elections. We don't vote. Europe, Germany gets about 80% voter turnout. Other countries, you have to vote. Period. It's not an optional thing. But for some reason, just the best one. No. There we go. But for some reason, our generation, youngsters, do not like to vote. And yeah, with things like college can make it difficult, but we're the ones who have to live through these decisions the longest and fight uphill from the ramifications if they're bad. Or get to benefit the most from good ramifications. It would be good to be involved. I just joined the John Fetterman campaign a couple of days ago. He's a senator running in Pennsylvania against Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz would not be good in the Senate. And Fetterman, pro-marijuana, he might not be a Bernie Sanders, but I think he's a pretty good face to the public of the left. A dude who rocks up in a hoodie and shorts, 6'7", and just mogs over everyone. And then just spews pretty good fucking policy positions. Voter turnout by country. If there's any chance to prevent the worst case outcomes, electoralism, as much as it sucks, is still useful, is still good to get your hands in and actually do the work. Are they down in the 60s? Yeah, we're still 10 points behind them. Yeah, voting. Number of registered voters. 68. Is that? I don't think that's turnout. Data. This is Belgium at 87%. 87% of people turned out to vote. Yeah, this actually would be good if 87% of our nation turned out to vote consistently, but we don't. As you saw in here, you also see the midterm spikes. Guys, it sucks, but we can't walk away halfway through the year and go to a brunch, I forget what sign that was out of Trump's inaugural swearing in, whereas like I would rather be at brunch. So even if he wasn't becoming president, we can't be at lunch. You know, it does suck. Yeah. It's not been something also they've been quiet about on the Republican side. Like, you know, I would be in favor of voter ID laws if there wasn't a way it was inherently discriminatory. But survey says, well, survey says no, that is exactly what will happen. So, yeah, maybe if we shoved it down every American's throat, we could have it, but that also wouldn't be what comes out of Congress. So, you know, any vote. I'm trying to see if I can find it. There's, you know, people who, you know, Nick Fuentes, who, you know, has a pretty sizable following, you know, the Groipo Nation or whatever. He had an interview that I was watching on Hunter Avalon's stream where he was like, you know, I think only land owning, business owning people should get to vote or something. Pretty sure if he asked if women, yeah, no, women shouldn't vote. Nick Fuentes, yeah. But like a business owner doesn't have to be a landowner. Like there's inherent contradiction, obviously, but you know, there are people who are out there who have political power that would like to swing the vote back to 1850, you know, beyond even the general return to tradition bullshit. So, you know, not much we're going to be able to do. You know, it's unfortunate that Louisiana had a stay on the map, which is pretty bad. And again, this is a way in which the court interjects itself into politics in a way that is inherently political, in a way that, you know, when they say we're not, is a great example to point out. It's like, no, you have tangible results that like can be felt in the political world. Like it is, excuse me, bad to say that. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, even last year, which foreshadow the widespread of racial. Maybe I'll have to go read the majority opinion on that. Politically conservative panel. This is the other element of how politics gets played here. They know which routes to run these cases up. Oh, do you go up the fifth district, or the fifth circuit court, or the ninth? There's ones where there are evident routes that are easier to get to the Supreme Court, getting rulings that are in your favor. And it's another way that, even if that's not technically inherently political, the way it can be played is inherently political. It's another good way of showing, you know, even if they want to throw their hands up and go, we're not. Well, again, you are. Provides no substantial. This is the other element that a lot of the recent stuff, you know, between voter ID laws on blatantly lacking evidence of voter fraud, you know, Oregon has been casting hundreds of thousands of ballots every election, including a large portion of mail-in, and they do not see the fraud. There were like 500 cases over 12 years. That's so unsubstantial. You have to fabricate hundreds and hundreds of humans just to win a tight race. That's not a simple task. You know, it's definitely not as simple as some would like to perceive, that you could just ballot dump. Does how it references last winter involving a similar outcase in that. Wait, what? To reinstate maps that 3 federal judges determined were illegally. That's awesome. Love it when we see that. Well, it's just, you know, reinstate it for this one. We know it's racist. We know it's bad. But hey, you know, it's too close to the election. Who represents them in the districts? You know, obviously, when asked like what's you know a better way we could go, first past the ballot has two major problems. Number one is, like, generally speaking, you know, spoiler effect is very real, which is why third party power is very much a hamstring answer. Like, it would be awesome to vote Green Party, Third Party, etc., but unrealistic in terms of a federal level at least. And even if we got to a split, it would be whoever fractures last gets the power type beat, and that wouldn't be the way. But a way to undercut that is by getting rid of first past the post balloting the way we currently vote and doing a ranked choice voting. And again, ways that you can actually get involved in that. Massachusetts just had a bill last year that got shot down, and I don't think they're pushing it up again. I always didn't see it. Maybe they push it in 2024. But get involved in this. Massachusetts gets it statewide. That would be a good thing. Maine did it in 2018, and they had a flip in representatives immediately. The way that people ran campaigns immediately changed. Generally for the better. Generally it was about like, oh, hey, we can run 2 Democrats and not have to worry about how this is going to affect us. That more progressive candidate can sit on the ballot and not be a threat, but actually obtain votes and show that the base is more left. That is a huge element to that. This idea of electability could plummet with a better system. So anyone who says that vote third party, if you're in about 7 states, that would be one of the most dangerous things to do, period. What other fun elements of voting? Yeah, America does have a pretty fraught history of voting. Starting with white landowners and then surely but slowly creeping outwards, but again, a pretty big retraction in the last little bit, especially with the most centrist judge having amenity towards the legislation and the power to ensure that at this point that voting can run backwards. We would lose most of the swing states through that. The other element is if the interstate compact was to work, the Supreme Court could again toss it out. It would absolutely be able to be tossed out, even if the people voted on it. So that is pretty sad. We could end up in a pretty much worse location. And it's a shame because it's happening wider than, just America. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, yeah, let's do some catting. So one of the things I want to produce recently is copy into here. So I have this really nice board here. It's an optical breadboard, which means it's extremely flat, and it is, as you can see, has these array of holes, and they're all threaded for M6 screws, which is really nice. There we go. So one thing that I want to do here is make an XY plotter. Now, unlike my CNC machine that I'm working on the side as well, I think I'm just gonna wing this, not have a dock, not do too much for it, keep it simple, stupid, level. It's just a XY machine. So the main thing is I want to put a piece of paper there, and I think that's going to be pretty difficult. So let me, I don't want that. I'm going to put a piece of paper made in 1/2x11 sheet. D. Escape. I'm gonna have to get 2 hands free for this one. This is 8.5x11. .5 inches. Okay, so that looks like I'll be able to hold with a rail right there. Finish sketch. not going to do anything with this sketch. I just want to have it visible right now. I am working on the back side. Whoops. Take me home. That is not great. I might have to reposition this thing. Oh, okay, I don't really care. So as you can see, that's my piece of paper standing. We have this really nice board. Let me bring up my favorite website ever after this. $600, that's what I thought. Okay. This is one of my favorite websites ever. It's like a McMaster, but it's a bit nicer. Is this V-Rail though? I wonder if they have V-Rail. So one of the things with these guys, this is limb extrusion. It's amazing to work with. I can't sing enough praise. V-Rail. Yeah, oh, okay, here we go. Perfect. They have these. Ooh, tire kits. Let's see. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Essentially what I'm going to have is one rail going this way, one rail right here, and then we'll have a cross beam, and then I don't know, I have to get a have to do the bands. Let me bring up the extra. You know, I should probably just do an image, but let's see what an Ender 5 Pro. No, it's not 35 Pro. Doesn't really matter. I want to see its top real quick. Yeah, this is essentially what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, essentially I want this type of rail here. And as you can see, this thing riding back and forth on it, which means I do have to have a little kickstand off on it, but that would be easy enough to do. Maybe I'll get 1, 2, 3 blocks of that, or just get little nubs of 80/20, whichever one's easier. That would be pretty simple. I can laser cut the connectors. This doesn't really have too much accuracy that I have to worry about on it. Okay, that's a good way to mount that actually. See, it's good to refresh yourself on this. I was thinking about the motor position today. I was thinking either you could lay it on the rail and then do like a belt drive thing here and go back and forth. Okay. Perfect. What does this go with though? It has to go with some sort of aluminum extrusion. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they don't have V-Rail extrusion on here. Does McMaster? Let's find out. T-slot, V-slot. It does not look like they do either. Where do I buy V-slot aluminum extrusion then? I'm confuzzled. Is this like TM'd? Is this like heavily trademarked that V-slot isn't a major thing other than these guys? Oh. No, I swear I've had the aluminum extrusion V-slot out of these guys. Actually, that was good to see. Maybe I'll just buy a 2x long. We'll see. Do I have the motors? I think I do have the motors for this already, which is sick. Wow. No, they do not have V-slot. Open source does that, which is useful. Although it doesn't come pre-cut, I don't think, which is annoying. Man, I have to buy 1,000? I also don't know if I want a 40-40. Actually, I don't want a 40-40. I definitely want a 20-40 at best. Let's see. I guess that might have legitimately be trademarked to the point you can't actually even use it, which is interesting. Wouldn't have expected that. Let me prevent my computer from having an aneurysm. I am shocked that is yeah, we'll see what it actually looks like in action. This is essentially what I'm trying to get to.
There was an integrated solution that could help bring your projects to life. V-Slot is the first completely integrated linear motion framing system. It was designed to allow every part of your build to be used as a linear rail. Traditional T-slot systems were not designed for linear motion. Over time, the edges dig into the wheel and precision is lost. The solution is V-Slot. V-Slot incorporates an internal angle V-track on all sides of the extrusion. This allows for a smooth, precise, self-centering linear motion.
So why does Massimi sell V-slot guides but not the actual thing? Shaft. Interesting. Linear motion. What category is this under? V-roll assemblies. Well, that's maybe a good start. Linear slide assemblies. Huh. Fascinating. That is not what I expected. Oh, are they saying it slides on that really thin thing? Interesting. Yeah, I think open build is just gonna be cheaper and easier for us than Lucini. That's a shame. Although that does give me a chance to show off another website that I enjoy. GrabCAD. Their library, it's like Thingiverse or Printerverse or whatever the new one is, but it's nicer in the sense that it has a library. Let me take this off screen. Shame that I have this on my work laptop. I already signed in, but I don't have this one. Yeah, that was gonna be a wacky name. A wacky password. Oh, crap, no. Almost reset my entire password. Oh, I see. That's a lot to count. That's fine. Yeah. So they have a library. I'm gonna type in V slot. This one. I think somebody has the entire open build. Oh, that is what I'm looking for. We'll just take a peek at that. Take a peek at... Wow, they did a CNC machine on that. I would not trust that to be what holds. Ooh, interesting. Doing a lead screw design with it, not some pulley system. Some belt-driven boy. What do they have here? Oh, this is like a real like fake looking one. This is like a floaty boy. Oh, I swear I've seen an entire like V slot. I want the 20 though. 2040. Ooh, open source drone. Yeah, later on in this channel, I will be making a drone with no name, and that should be a lot of fun to work on. He's built drones in the past, and I have not. That's dope. So that should be really good. Maybe I got away last time because I used 2020 in the past. I don't know why I was babying about that. Oh, thank God that opened up on the other window. Okay, back to Fusion. Upload. Which one's the dot step? There it is. I would usually work in SolidWorks. I'm much better in it. I'm gonna have to relearn a lot of things here. But SolidWorks costs a lot of money. I don't want to figure out whether or not I'll get in legal trouble with them. They have a pretty large legal department that likes to sue when they find shit out. So that's not as cash money as one would say. Okay, so then what else do they got that I would want? Oh no, I want this guy. I want to know if you just sell the rollers themselves. Although Musumi did sell those by themselves. V guide with 90-degree groove. Well, if they're the same and they don't cost a shitload, maybe that will be when Musumi comes back into the picture. Where's this shop? Huh. Plates? Oh yeah, here we go, plates. These the wheels that they sell? Oh, they are, yeah. What's the... Oh, these are the normal ones? Sweet. Alrighty. These are the ones that get sold on the... They have good cast acrylic, by the way. I think that's who somebody bought it from. Gantry cut kits, perfect. Double wide. The mini, is that for the 10? Oh, that's cute, it's riding on a C-beam. We got CAD. Oh, whoa, they have CAD for this. Awesome. Plates. Okay, so yeah, this fits on that guy. Sweet. 20 millimeter. I'll figure out what type of Yeah, I think I'm gonna look to see if I can just buy the feet off of them, because I can make this plate. I have the capabilities, even now, to build this, I think. Although I might just buy one to build to start another project. I'm never gonna finish a project. I'm gonna have too many. Too many always. Yeah, oh, perfect, here we go. Give me... do you have schematics? I mean... What? That is a shame. Here we go. Models. I could also just download that gantry kit too. I think this one is the one I think it is. I could check the wheels myself. I think that's what I'll end up doing. So this one is meant to ride in here. I wonder how that will compare to something like this, if it's 70 or 90. This has the screw already there though, which is really nice. Okay. That should be uploaded. Import. Okay, so one trick here. So you can make a lot of different versions of these, obviously. But when you do an extrude, you can do a offset. I hope this works the same as in SolidWorks. Offset from that surface by 600. Now you have a 600 millimeter beam, which is pretty awesome. That one is really nice to use. Can I import this into there? I forget how to do this. This is why. Oh, and that works for me. Okay, let's see if we can go assemble. Joint type, no. How do I do this? Rigid group. Oh, I need to make this its own component. Create component for body. Then I'm still relearning this software. Fortunately, my co-host has worked in it more recently. We're gonna call this. One good thing to do is have good naming. V-rail. I like to put in camel case. Oh, more fireworks. Dash 600. Always put how long it is in there, just because it makes life much simpler when you end up forgetting. And it's a way to do a double check. I once ordered a piece that was too short. That really hurt. That was not fun. Modify. Where's the move tool? Move copy. Boom. We can rotate -90, I guess. That will help just put it kind of where I want it. Joint, nope. Joint. Position, yeah. I hope that's the side. Oh, they're Why did that move? Can I fix this? God, I'm gonna look really bad working on this in the software. Yeah, you know what? That's life though. I guess maybe I need to do it the other way around. That it's this face and that edge. Can we just call it what it is? A coincidence joint? Pointer. Okay. This is one thing that you should always know. Like, I know you know how to do this in SolidWorks real quick. How to do incident mates in Fusion. No, okay, well, I also need to know. Comprehensive joints. Yeah, sure, this is probably a good refresher for me.
It's an amazing time for manufacturing. We've seen advancements in CAD, CAM, high-speed machining, and fourth and fifth axis equipment. Peterson.
Yeah, these guys
Let's
are good.
talk about joints inside of Fusion 360. Now, if you come from a more traditional modeling background, such as Inventor or SolidWorks, chances are you're more familiar with something called constraints or mates. And as you know, with constraints or mates, it typically takes 3 constraints or mates in order to fully place and define a part inside of an assembly. With Fusion, we use something called joints, and oftentimes we can remove all the degrees of freedom with a single joint. Now, here you can see some different types of joints that we can create. So we have rigid, revolute, slider, cylindrical, pin slot, planar, and ball. And you can see that for the different joint types, we restrict or allow certain degrees of freedom. So if we look at the rigid doesn't allow any motion at all. Rigid is like it's being bolted or welded together. Revolute allows one rotation. Rotation would be around X, Y, or Z. Slider allows one translation. Translation would be in X, Y, or Z. Cylindrical allows one translation and one rotation. A pin slot allows one translation and one rotation. Planar is 2 translation and 1 rotation. And the ball allows for 3 rotation degrees of freedom. So depending on your different needs, you can use these different joint types to be able to position the parts accurately. Let's switch over to Fusion and look at an example of doing this. Here we are inside of a Fusion design, and you can see in this design I have several components that are placed. One important thing about joints is that joints will only work on components. They will not work with bodies. The other important thing about joints is that you want at least one of your components in your assembly to be grounded. That is, it won't be able to move around. You can see if I grab this piece right here, I can drag it anywhere I want to. I'm going to undo that, and to make it so it won't drag around anymore, I'm going to right-click on that piece, and I'm going to choose to ground it. Now if I try to move it, it won't move anymore. So we're going to assemble all the rest of the parts to that base piece that we did. From the assemble menu, I'm going to choose joint, and the first thing you'll notice is that the base has turned translucent, indicating that I can't select it. Whatever we select first is going to move to our second selection, and what I want to do is I want to bring this yellow piece down to the red piece and assemble those things together. You can see as I hover my mouse over different faces, I get different points of interest that I can select on. Midpoints of lines, endpoints of lines, centroids of masses, centers of holes, the center points of arcs.
That is a bit nicer than what SolidWorks sometimes has, actually. That is a really cool element.
Different things that we can select on. And in this case, what I want to grab is the centroid of mass at the bottom of this yellow point. So I just want to highlight my mouse over that until that white square appears, and I'm going to click. Now that part's going to turn translucent, and everything else appears fully visible. Now I want to select the corresponding point on the red base object. So if I hover my mouse over here, you can see all those points appear, but one thing that happens is I move my mouse to that center point and it disappears. So the trick to this, to get you to lock into the points on this face, is on Windows, you'll hold the control down, and on Mac, you hold the command button down. So I'm going to hold command, and now you can see I can move my mouse over that point and select it. And when I do, those two pieces assemble together, and you can see by the motion that we added a rigid joint. Now you can cycle through the different types and see what will happen. That would be a revolute. We could change the axis of rotation if we wanted to see what that would do. So you can see we can go through and change some different things about them. Here's a slider, will slide back and forth. A cylindrical will rotate and slide at the same time. You can have a pin slot, so you can see what that would animate like. A planar. And then the final one is a ball. Now the one that makes the most sense for us here is going to be the rigid. I just want to go through the animation so you can see the different types that Fusion tries to guess as you assemble these together. So I now have these two pieces the way that I want them. And I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. If I grab on this yellow piece now, you see that I can no longer move it. It's bonded to the red piece. And if we look over in our browser, we're going to see another folder here called joints, and here you can see our joints folder appears. You can also see the symbol for a rigid joint up here. If we don't want to see that symbol anymore, we can turn off the light bulb, or we can turn off the top level light bulb for the joints folder completely. I don't recommend turning off the top level light bulb because you'll probably want to find more joints along the way as you're going through. What I want to do now is I want to assemble these two bushings to this clevis part. So from the assemble menu, or we can use J on the keyboard, I'm going to start a joint, and I'm going to click on that edge right there. I'm going to click on that back edge right there. And now those are going to be assembled. This is a good example of you can choose which one you want to use. A rigid joint will work just fine. A revolute joint would work fine. In all actuality, we're probably not going to be spinning that bushing. So in this case, a rigid is what I'm going to stick with because I just want to place that at the center, but I don't necessarily want to see that bearing be able to spin around. And I'll go ahead and choose OK. This time I'm going to push J on my keyboard to start the joint command, and I'm going to click on this circle and that edge, that circle right there. Now that time, the bushing went the wrong direction. The two edges are aligned, but I'm getting the opposite result that I want. In the dialog box, there's a button here called...
Okay. Let's see. This is kind of not as great because I want to do positioning things. My mindset's going to be really stuck in Fusion for a hot minute, which will not be particularly good. Let me go back and create a little standoff. For the purposes, we'll just make it a 20 by 20 standoff. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're gonna have to cut these pieces ourselves, which is gonna suck. There's some tricks and tips I'll show on stream about that, because it's easier when you do that. Okay. Let's hide this one. Press pull. Where's my origin here? The other good thing is to try to always work around origins, but no, I want to see these. Wait, is this like randomly in the middle? Oh, yeah, you see I didn't do it last time. Well, if you're really good, you actually do use the one. No, I don't want to offset it. I want to extrude. I can do that same offset trick, which is the easiest one to do. It's the way to do it. That doesn't look about right. How about the -20? Oh, offset -20 here. Or maybe 20. Don't know what that was trying to do. Offset. Five, 10, 15, 20. Fuck it. I should probably not do this, but what the hell. We're gonna go ahead and create another body from that. And we're gonna do the same. -20. I'm clicking nothing that is helping. There it is. Maybe turn off those sketches. Okay. What way do I want it to face? Yeah, I mean, if I did tap it, I could actually put it right here, which would be a cute little way to do it. Although I would have to use the board upside down, which isn't a problem to me. Yeah, let's go ahead. So as you can see here, this is one of the countersunk heads, and I can probably get an adapter to fit an M4. I could probably just print that off, even though it'll violate one of my pet peeves. Printing flat objects, but who cares, it's a washer. Maybe I can laser cut it and be nice to myself. Alrighty. Let's go joint. The first thing you touch will snap to the next thing. Joint, rigid. Yep, that is right. That is right on that one. Then, good God, this thing is worse than I remember. I used to really like this thing, and then I've kind of lost my ability to use it. Let's do create a pattern. Select a direction. We close out this window because we no longer need it. Give me some more territory to work with. We'll go down to 2, and then we can pick a second dimension, go down to 2. And that's the way you can quickly create an array, which is actually, I think, probably one of the better things that Fusion got going on, quite realistically. Okay, now I don't understand how to position things yet here. I know that I want like the top. I could get a slide. Yeah, that's what I can do. I can make a slide happen. And then I can set a, probably, cancel. Probably I can make a, some sort of symmetry, happen. Let's go slide. So first thing snaps to the second thing. Keep scrolling out like it's gonna get me somewhere, and it never does. So he said something about this. That's not the axis. Yeah, this is the axis. But I believe it's flipped. It is flipped. That is a-okay. Because we definitely know how to take care of that. Boom. Now does that take away, uh-oh. That might have taken away one axis that I did want though. And this guy is still floating in space. Rigid. Okay, how to... How to fix the Supreme Court is the first thing that pops up when I type in how to fix components. I'll call it freeze because I don't think it's going to be called that. Fix in Fusion. These components in Fusion 360. Freeze and unfreeze, that is not what I'm looking for. Man, yeah, you know, sometimes reinventing the wheel is not needed. Coincident mate is a word. Maybe, screw it, we'll figure it out. Fuck it, we'll do it live. That's one of my favorite. The Bill O'Reilly "fuck it, we'll do it live" is one of my favorite stupid things that I've ever heard. Ooh, interesting. I cannot select it to be frozen. So this guy can just move around? No, that can't be right. Assembly rigid group. Rigid would be a word for it. I saw joint origin, position of joint origin at the component. How the hell do you freeze things, dude? This is nuts. I don't know what I just clicked on. Okay, yes. So yeah, this guy moves in a weird way still. Like why? I guess what I should have done was make it a planar mate, not a slider mate. Edit joint. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And then I can make this face. No. Joint. Come on. There we go. Continue. How about if it's a slider, but in the x-axis? God damn, this would be so much easier in SolidWorks. Delete. Yeah, I just want to put it right there. I mean, I guess if I wanted to, maybe to create a special plane there. Oh no. How do I keep doing this? Oh no, doesn't really matter. I can, though, since this is about right, I could do a create mirror plane. And that's not where I need that plane to be. See, this is when you run into a problem. I'm going to have to create a plane. That's fine. Now this is a bit nicer that I like than what SolidWorks has, because I can just pre-select what I want to do mid-plane. Mirror. I hope that's not too early, but that would be good. Joint. Oh, I did make this thing 600 millimeters for a purpose. That might have actually been smart of me then. Oh, please don't crash. That would be such a shame. Edit joint. Is it 25? This is the one problem. It's like, nope, it's not 25. Edit joint. You know, I'm just building up quadrants in my technical knowledge of this stupid software. 22? Okay. That is not too bad. So, that doesn't seem right. Why is it hanging over on this edge if it's 600? What? Oh. Well, a whole lot of that's weird. $42. There we go. we can probably make that work. Joint. Gonna get annoyed by that. I gotta get this hand free of the mic. I'll figure that out later. Rigid position though. What did the handy oh, okay. What the fuck? What the fuck though? Maybe I should delete this. Oh, nope. Delete the other rail. Then take this rail, which ironically is the mirrored one, and mirror it back over. I know I'm being bad, but whoops, that was not particularly great. We'll then extrude cut this face. Up to this face. That is pretty nice. That will be a legitimate start to what I could do for this guy. Where is my piece of paper? I have 2 sketches, that's quite one. Oh no, I do not. Oh, I'll get rid of the sketch then. F6. F6 is one of those other funny ones that if you're coming from the SolidWorks world, you're used to pressing F, but F is fillet. So I have consistently found myself having problems with that. Let's see. That paint made my nose run today. I thought that was really strange. Yeah. The nice part about both of these softwares. Cancel. I made a mistake. I was about to say, a nice part of both these softwares is you can punch in any unit you want and then dimension it after. Like you can punch in the 11 inches by the 8.5 inches that printer paper is. How much space do I really have on that side? Interesting. I won't be able to reach that. No, it would just have a border. I would have to make sure that border is as small as possible though, if I want to get close to the edge of it. Obviously I'll be able to go full length that ways. I wonder though then if that means I shouldn't tap these, but move these back to here and print a bracket. Either way, I don't care about the design of that yet, I think. I don't really care about the positioning. This is worst case scenario at this point, which is one of the things I think you should always think about too, is your escape routes, as I like to call them, where you like, hey, I see this as like a potential problem and I know I can escape to over here, which is like super nice. Okay. We'll bring in the next thing that we have to bring in. I think I downloaded it already. Did I? I don't think I did. Oh no, it is on this tab. That's cool. VSWAT gantries. If I download, it's gonna make me sign in. Extract. Perfect. We can use the same upload, select files. That's not the file I was looking for. Oh, that's very low down there. We could, for driving this thing, either have one shaft that runs over here-ish, or we could have two motors. I have one stepper motor, definitely. I have two. I wonder if I have enough. You can also just buy them, they're like 19 bucks a pop. Which, I mean, you know, that's not nothing. I will have to do something to get those. So I'll pick up some work or something, but it's not a big bank breaker, especially since the extrusion itself is not going to cost a whole lot, I think. This is extrusion. So I have 600. Yeah, I can literally, I think, get most of my parts out of one thing for 16 bucks. That's pretty good. 16 bucks to get the majority of that done. I could laser cut a bracket to hold that in line too. Plus I could to even hold the band. We could run, the nice thing with this is that we could run the timing belt, or the belt like through as a loop, which is pretty useful. One thing you can also do then is you can curve this channel out a little bit more by running a drill bit down it, which I have access to do. That'd actually be pretty good. And then I can also what else can I do with that? Oh no, but that I think will be pretty good in terms of that. Where should I go? Okay, so then next is to make the sliders for that, which we just pulled in and open it up. So one thing I want to figure out right off the bat. You know what? No, I just need plexiglass. I don't need to do this out of metal. This thing could totally be plexiglass with Delrin. It'll be super cheap that way, and I don't have to worry. I was thinking about doing it out of the aluminum sheet that keeps banging my foot, but I don't really have to. How could I determine the angle of this? I measured this distance. I know that distance, but then oh, and if I measure the radius of that, I can make the triangle happen. Distance is 1.25. And the difference in the diameter is, what is that? So 1.2 gets you to 10 to 11. So plus that, fuck it. 5 minus 9.8. 1.25. Oh, well, even think I have to, because there's a little nice trick called triangle calculators. When in doubt, don't bother doing it yourself. So my A is the difference of the radius, and I know that, okay. Put that over there. So my B is 2.15. Angle side side. No, I don't think that's what I have in this case. I don't know my C, but I do know that my radius difference is that number I calculated earlier. Also 1.25. Interesting. That would, I think, indicate as a 45-degree angle, which makes it a 90-degree angle from each other. Interesting. Do they have a construction plan that would be useful for this? Maybe. Well, either way, I probably can do something useful with this guy. Whoops. That's a pull out a pin. Destroy the entire model. Okay, so I got that in pretty reasonable shape today. That wasn't too long. How long have I been going for? Oh, hour 18. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. That makes sense. What else did I promise I would do? I said words. I should live up to them. Eventually. Oh, a little Ukraine update. That's dope. Let's do Ukraine. So, saw some funny headline. Well, actually, let's start with a non-funny headline. Snake Island bombing. So this one doesn't look good. Ukraine backed out of here.
This is Webflow.
Backed out of Snake Island so that grain exports could go out, so they don't get obliterated by the rest of the world for causing mass starvation. Given that so much of the grain that like Lebanon uses comes out of Ukraine. But I just want to see the video. Yeah, here it is. The guy who said this quote, I'll just wave it up on the screen, was like the lead of the Ukrainian army at the right now. It's pretty dangerous. Yeah. It's not the first time that they have alleged chemical attacks. The last time though was by a governor of a I was about to say prefecture, but that is not what they have. Oblasts. But this time it came from a high up in the military, as you saw. So this one's a bit different. More shelling. Airlines. I saw that at one point Ukrainian soldiers had recovered a hard drive with 100 gigabytes of data. So suckers. Russia can eat it. Diffuses. Wow. Ukraine diffuses nearly like 50,000 explosives in the Kiev Oblast. I don't know if you had seen, but there was a video of Ukrainians driving past mines. Spell. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. He does it with a trailer in tow. I don't understand how you do this. Man's got balls. But good, they got rid of a ton of those mines and explosives over in the Kiev Oblast. They were losing there was worry about one section being lost. Let's see if I can find out who that might have been, or what oblast. We'll also take a quick look at the map. Oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, this area. It doesn't look good. It's in Luhansk Oblast. Okay, that's about right. It looks like they're probably gonna lose that. I think it's important if I was to give a prescription standing from here. Ukraine can't like give away territory. I don't care if it would end it. You know, it's an extension of what they did in Georgia, or what Russia did in Georgia in 2008, and what Russia did in 2014. They already have the Transnistria area. If they give up the land bridge between the Luhansk to Crimea area, the next land bridge task would be to connect it to the Transnistria area and take the part of Moldova. So, unfortunately, I don't think there's a way. There's a new goal. There's a new object that they could get. So unless you give up literally all of this as Ukraine, my one prescription: Russia bad. But let's see what else I got. What's this? Oh wow. Mariupol. Wait, is there still fighting in Mariupol? There's no way. Yeah, they've taken the steel factory. Yeah, those soldiers had to have given up. They were being obliterated over there. But it was the Azov battalion. Do I feel exactly bad? I don't know. No, I don't. Russia shells Kharkiv. Possible air defense. Object shot down. So, yeah. Hopefully they don't lose Odessa. It looks like they're going to lose the Luhansk region. One idea was that they were going to try... Is this the Sumy? Yeah, they were going to try and do like a pincer maneuver and go down here and cut off here and encircle a bunch of them, which was one of the big fears early on, is that the soldiers were all in the east, and that if they got pincer moved, they could slaughter back. When hopefully when the day comes where Mariupol is rescued, we don't find what happened in Bucha and other massacres, but unfortunately a lot of this area will have experienced pretty horrific things, quite frankly. So, hopefully they keep knocking things down. Let's see. Lukashenko accuses Ukraine of shelling Belarus. Yeah, I don't care. Lukashenko, the dictator, can die. All I care. Yeah, did Belarus will enter Russia's war if Ukraine military crosses the border? I don't think anybody's gonna be crossing any borders, but they haven't exactly been neutral. They allowed Russia access directly to Ukraine, so I don't know if you get to play innocent victim here when your border starts getting shelled. Yeah, let's go, repels. I do hope that this is real. Obviously there's selective bias coming out. Kaliningrad. It's Kharkiv. It's fired. Oh, it doesn't. It's not the end yet for them, but hopefully they'll keep fighting on. Hopefully they won't secede territory. What else did I say? Oh yeah. So last night, when I was messing around and having bad mic setup, I came across a pretty funny Jordan Peterson clip. Now, Jordan Peterson today has put himself in a funny clip.
We begin today
by... Oh crap, I have to go over this commercial now. Jordan Peterson wailed on his Twitter ban right after having joined the Daily Wire. Obviously, a pretty staged element. I might go over the video, but I'm not sure. I already watched it. But obviously his previous tweet about, no, not pretty, I'm sorry, no amount of leftist intolerance is going to make me think that. Cool, nobody gave a shit. Nobody still cares. I'll explain here, but unfortunately now we have to go over whatever the hell this Ben Shapiro Daily Wire ad is, so this should be enjoyable.
Today with a rather shocking event that took place last night. So last night was the premiere of the much-awaited documentary from Matt Walsh over at the Daily Wire, What is a Woman? And it was the most successful launch in the history of our company. And we had tens and tens and tens of thousands of people who were simultaneously watching What is a Woman. It would have been a far larger number, except for the fact that we were then hit at the very beginning of the live stream with a massive denial of service attack. So a denial of service.
Yeah, having tricked trans folk into joining your film isn't exactly ethical. Not a good idea.
Is essentially where your system is flooded with so much fake traffic that it ends up overwhelming the servers and denying other people who are trying to log in their service. So there were tens of thousands of people who were unable to watch the movie last night because somebody, I'm not going to name names because we don't know yet, somebody was attempting to prevent you from seeing what is the most important documentary, not only of this
Sure. Even if it was true, who gives a crap?
year, but I think of the last 5 or 10 years. Matt, What is a Woman documentary? It's a masterpiece. It's really important. It's really good.
It's dumb. People have had pretty good dissectings of that. Hunter Appler, Bosch. No doubt you could go anywhere under a rock on the left and find a pretty good detailing of why What is a Woman is stupid.
And it's going to completely change the debate, and somebody wanted to make sure that you could not see it. According to our internal investigation over at the Daily Wire.
Okay.
You made the point that for a
So, this is Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson at some down in Australia. Australia, for the longest time, has Jim Morrison, I believe was his name, as Prime Minister. He has been since booted. He wasn't well liked, but he ran a pretty conservative government. So no doubt, I have gut feeling that might be true as well for the Deputy Prime Minister, but don't really need to look at it. Let's see what they have to say about the absurdism of socialism.
very long time, we understood how dangerous that sort of drift towards totalitarianism is. It seems to have washed out of the system now. It seems as though we don't teach history, we don't respect it, we don't understand that it can teach us valuable lessons. And what worries me about that is the old saying, if you don't understand history, you may very well repeat it. Why do we walk away from people we can trust, warning us of the consequences?
Well, I think there's an interesting reason for that sort of brings...
Why don't we study all of our history? Well, I mean, Tulsa 1921 wasn't a widespread known event until 2019. Even still, the survivors way afterwards were nervous about sharing the narrative on the event. We don't actually share all of our history. One of my friends was talking to me and was like, we do a bad job, sharing the narrative histories of groups in America, like the Irish, like the Italians. And I think that hurts in one way, because I don't think people then can have seen and then have that little next bit of sympathy and empathy to go one step further. And I think that is a key that isn't as well taught. But let's see how they respond to this.
Brings the Solzhenitsyn story into 2019, which is that he was truly oppressed. This was a life of actual oppression, right? Now we have people that are walking around. Everyone in this room has this in their pocket. And if you have this in your pocket, and you think,
off, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully turned off. But if you have this thing in your pocket and you think you're oppressed, you're very confused. We live in a time with such absurd freedoms in the West that are so beyond imagination of what people could only...
This is a dumb chuckle fuck take. I don't get it. You have a phone, so you're not oppressed.
We dream of 2 generations ago, even 1 generation ago, especially with this, that people now have a perceived oppression instead of a real oppression. So one of the things that I find when I go to college campuses is that these kids will protest and they'll scream and that everyone's all right and everyone.
Disregard any actual judicial outcome differences, housing differences, voting equality differences. Don't perceive those differences. It's all made up. Okay, it's in your head. You have a phone. Shut the fuck up.
one's a neo-Nazi and the rest of this. And I always find, all right, well, how do you break through to somebody like that? How do you actually, when they have, you've talked about this, when they have that look in their eye, truly a possessed look, and they're, it's this postmodern monster has become sort of a secular religion. And I think
postmodernism as a kind of, I don't know if I want to say the word dog whistle, might be euphemism. Euphemism is a pretty good word for it, but they'll say this in many other ways. Cultural Marxism, Frankfurt School, the postmodernism, other the feminism movement or whatever. They'll shine it up, but at the end of the day, they're just trying to be the brakes on social justice.
That's also one of the reasons why what Jordan's doing is resonating, because they've removed religion from the equation, and now they have no meaning, and they put it all into this really competing set of ideas, what we call the oppression Olympics, where they're constantly competing for oppression because they believe that victimhood is virtue, and victimhood, of course, is not virtue. What's virtuous is getting your life in order and going out and doing something. So I'm always looking for a little trick to get through to these kids, and it's really hard because when they have that sort of glossed over zombie look, it's tough. And I found one trick that actually kind of works if you can get it to them in the most simple, personal way. And this particularly works in the United States, and I have no doubt that it would work here in Australia as well. I'll say to them, does anyone in this room have it worse than their grandparents? Now, I've done this, I don't know, 100 times probably.
This take is the other people have had it bad or worse. We shouldn't improve the system. We actually, I think, this was a main talking point during Biden's college debt relief. I paid off my loan. Other people paid off my loan, their loans. Or, why should we make the system better now for people? I mean, we can apply this to anything of like, we had poll taxing and segregation. We don't have slavery anymore. Like, we shouldn't make things better. Like, I don't know. This could be applied to anything at any time. The same exact arguments were made during the 65, made during 1865 and 1965. I don't know.
Nobody has ever raised their hand. Nobody ever. If you live in the United States, you basically, the only outsider case would be if your grandparents were oil barons or something like that, and then they lost all the money, in which case the leftists would actually love that too, because it would show that accumulated wealth doesn't stay beyond generations, so they're all about that, right? So, but if you can do something like that, if you say, everyone in this room can do it, like, can everyone...
hopefully we live in a meritocracy, yes.
Picture their grandparents. Do you have it better or worse? Does anyone in here have it worse than their grandparents? And that shows you that it's a perceived oppression, not a real oppression, that the thing that they're fighting, this patriarchal, postmodern, capitalistic thing that they're fighting, and they can't define it, so it's hard to define it for them, that it actually has bent toward justice always.
Yes, it will continue to do it. We don't have to push it. Don't ask for things. It will do it itself. No forces move that to happen. Things will stand in the way, like money, like tradition. You do actually have to push to have justice. This is not some end of history. We get justice. We did it. Yay. We can backslide. We can go further. We could go stagnate. Whole 9 yards.
And when you can plant that seed in them, I think it's a little bit of something. But it's very hard to break them out of that. But I think the key here is understanding that it's a perceived oppression. If you live in a free society in the West in 2019, you're not oppressed. You maybe don't have it as well as your neighbor does, and maybe you came from more and they came from less, or maybe you're sick and they're not, or a series of other things. But
these people will deny that there can be systematic things that make your life worse. And when Peterson talks, I'll bring this back up. But the idea that systems can be less than perfect, less than good, is something that he continually will deny. It will just become better by itself. No, the fuck it won't. Be involved.
You've got a chance. And that's all you're supposed to have in life. And I think getting that through to them, as opposed to, the system is horrible and I have to now destroy the system, as if they could magically reconstitute a system that really would just be, in effect, throwing away thousands of years of human history. That they're so wise. They're so wise at 24 years old as they're shouting down.
Not looking back and thinking, how can I go forward? No, we're throwing it out. It's gone forever. We're starting new. No, obviously we're building off, but that's what history means. But we still have to look back and go, we could have gone further. We could have got better, but they don't want to say that.
Speakers, that they could build up what nobody before them could, and that's the danger there. So I think getting them to think about their own lives, where they come from.
This also, I hate to pause every 2 seconds. This would literally apply to the founding fathers. Nobody had ever built up a nation of this size and the economic power, and we couldn't have been done. Don't do it. Stay where we are. Stagnation. These two might be the epitome of the epitome of the word conservative. Maybe placates worse ideologies. That might be a fair sentence, but they are, I think, the the zenith of what it means to be returned to tradition, period. You know,
I think is a pretty effective way of getting through to people.
Well, we could also say, like, look, there's a claim that the West is an oppressive patriarchy. And so that's actually true. The problem with the claim is that it's not just an oppressive patriarchy. And there's a big difference between something being completely something and something being partly something. Because one of the things you might point out is that you can look at human history anywhere, and what you see is a complete bloody nightmare, right? It's death and struggle and privation and war and horror everywhere, with some progress, you know, some ability of us to pull ourselves out of the mire, you know, and the West is the same. There's plenty
and we pulled ourselves out of that mire by going, no, this is wrong, this is bad, we can move forward.
of catastrophe in our past, of all sorts. And I think it's necessary to know that. But then it's necessary to separate the wheat from the chaff. You know, one of the things I see with readers who are unsophisticated and intellectually arrogant is they'll read someone great. Maybe they'll read Nietzsche, for example, and they'll find the odd thing that Nietzsche said that grates against their current moral sensibilities, whether they do that in context or out. And then they'll throw away the whole book. It's like, you don't throw away the whole book. It was Nietzsche. You don't throw away the book. He's like 1 in a billion. You read it carefully and you think, well, okay, no to that, but yes to this.
So you can wait, but they read Nietzsche, liked it, like this, the quote he brings up, and then throw it away? But we can dissect it?
And you do the same thing with Dostoevsky, and you do the same thing with Tolstoy. You do the same thing with the great writers of the past that have been passed down to us. You read intelligently. You separate the wheat from the chaff, right? And you gain wisdom that way. Well, you do the same when you look at your own history. It's like, well, of course it's a bloody nightmare. What do you expect? It's like, what's your point? We're going to burn it down, and then we're going to have something better as a consequence? Well, not so easily, not so quickly. Maybe we read our history carefully, and we think, okay, well, what did we get right? Well, what did we get right? Well, the sovereignty of the individual, that's pretty good. The fact that you have right...
But you have to then also beg the question, what did you get wrong? You can't just, you know, this isn't some high-five self-aggrandizing moment. If you want that, like, yeah, I'm sorry, negative things do happen in history, and negative things have consequences that lead up till today.
To property. That's pretty good. You can argue about the limits on that, but you know, you don't want someone just taking your purse. You know, it's helpful that there are things that you can earn and own. You know, the dignity of the individual. That's another one. The innocence before the law. God, that's a miracle that we ever came up with that idea. I can't believe that idea exists, because in most cultures it's like, well, you might be guilty. Okay, you're dead. Because, well, that's easier. You might be guilty. You know, why go through all the trouble? There's plenty of people where you came from. It's like the trouble of presuming your innocence. It's innocent. It's even hard for you to do that for yourself. And the idea that each person has an intrinsic worth regardless of their, well, externalities, let's say. That's another idea. That's a complete miracle. It's like, well, what are we going to do? We're going to throw all that away with the statement that we live in an oppressive patriarchy. And then we're going to be left with nothing. And what we're
going to be left with nothing. No, there's a system or fixes or changes that have been promoted. That is the whole point.
Is that? Well, how about we look at our history and we take responsibility for it? We think, okay, well, here's some things that need to be fixed. There's plenty of them, right? There's plenty of them for each of us to fix. And we'll go fix them. And maybe then we can atone for the bloodiness of our history and for our so-called unearned...
But to fix them, you have to do things. You have to change the system. And the previous metaphor not metaphor, but, you know, parable that Ruben just pointed out.
Privilege, you know, some of which all of us have. And that would be good. That would be part of the adventure of your life, too. And that's a far more sensible and wise approach to the diagnosis of what's wrong with the West than, well, it's an oppressive patriarchy and it should be overthrown, or whatever that, you know, current low resolution.
Or it should have, you know, tweaks around the edges, you know, continually improving and continually moving forward, you know. But he puts it in a hyperbolic sense of, you know, they're trying to just replace it with nothing. That's not, nobody's suggesting that. And if they are, you should take them seriously.
And resentful ideology happens to be. And there's something to be said for a bit of humility as well. Mm-hmm. It's like, really, you really think that you're capable of making large-scale social transformations and getting it right, do you? You really think that? You're 25, you're 30, you're 40?
You're 25, you're 30, you're 40. Wait, 40?
I don't care, you know? What makes you think you're smart enough to pull off something like that?
Let's see. Kennedy was 40. We have great congressmen who have been younger than that. Most of our business leaders have been younger than that. I'm sorry, yeah, people have started great startups at this time and started great movements. Fred Hampton was 21 when he was assassinated, which most likely means he was around 19 or so. I would have to double check that, but he was in his teenager years when he worked with, you know, started the Chicago Black Panthers and did breakfast meals and, you know, local organizing community stuff. Young people can do things. This is, again, just a red herring that they'll toss up to dismiss legitimate criticism of any system.
It's very, very difficult, very, very, very difficult to take a system that works not too badly and to do anything to it that doesn't make it worse, much less to radically reconstitute it and make it better. That's really hard. So, if you're upset about your...
In an engineering sense, this is actually even stupider. When you know, for example, that like an idea, let's see, you have like start and end. Right, let's say we start off with this, right, start and end. And let's say we take one path like there, and we realize it's only going to get us to, what's that, about like 30, 40% of the way there, of the overall goals of what the project needs. Well, you can't keep going down. It's only ever capped. There's a ceiling. But you, as P likes to say, you got to reconstitute then to get further. You gotta get back. And even in an engineering sense, you have to change your paradigm and move away from what you did and start something new and go learn new lessons to get to the 80% mark or whatever. This is the dumbest thing. Yeah, you reconstitute, you regroup. My current project at work, we had a machine, it did the job, and I looked at it and went, cool, we learned lessons, but we're not relearning lessons. We're moving forward. So, no, this is a brain dead take.
Culture, well, maybe you could think of some small ways that are local that you could go out and improve it. I think you should start with yourself, because then you're only harming yourself.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts is when he violates one of his own 12 rules, when he says people should, make their bedroom perfect, and then go fix the world while he's addicted to benzos. And fortunately, he seems to have recovered, but he's out here yelling about how people are trying to change the world, and while he's trying to stagnate it, which is changing the world as well. And his bedroom's not perfect. So don't listen to this. Your bedroom doesn't have to be perfect to fix the world. Just go out there and do a thing. He is right. Go do a thing. Go join a campaign. Go do something. But don't think that should limit you in any way.
And you're not a bad person to practice on, and then you could extend that to your family. Well, at least you suffer for the consequences of your own experiments that way, rather than having someone else do it. And then maybe you can work on bringing a little more harmony into your family, and maybe you can get a job and see if you're any good at that. And then if you manage those three things halfway respectably, well, then you could dare to put a toehold out into the broader community and think, maybe I have an idea here that we could tentatively attempt that might make some small thing slightly better that we could measure carefully and assess. And that would be...
Like, I don't know, reparations for Tulsa, for Wilmington, for Landstorm in Georgia, for massacres in Florida. I don't know. We have to take atonements. We believe in atonements, I assume. I believe he's assumed some consequential, past equals, some ripple effect of future. So, I don't know. This is what to expect out of Jordan Peterson, though, and Dave Rubin, to be really fair, is just, we're better off than we were, but we don't have to fix anything. We can't fix anything. You're too young to fix anything. Wrong. Completely wrong. Jordan Peterson. What's the word I'm looking for here? Soy, not beautiful. He has some other weird things that he tweeted out. Let's see if I can just pick up the tweet itself. He went on to his daughter's podcast. Oh, I should wait. Yeah, here it is. Soy, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that. In his critique, let's see, how fast was that going to be? Yeah, Hassan Albi with a bomb response right there. But like, why? Nobody asked. Nobody cared. Like, I'm sorry, it's not for you. Let's see. This was when he ends up jumping on his daughter's podcast. But he makes a critique that is doubly stupid, having followed up on that previous video.
And it's not as healthy, and that's that. And it's also not arbitrary, and so the whole thing is a lie. And then it's...
So as some...
Oh god.
Was not...
Ago, you tweeted something out
good,
that,
Graham.
yeah, I'm gonna bring it up,
Okay.
that got a crazy amount of attention, which
Well,
Did it?
Sports Illustrated
I don't know
swimsuit
what
edition,
that is.
I believe you're referring to.
Yes.
I tweeted out, sorry, not beautiful. Yeah, people were very happy with that.
And then everyone got upset.
Yes, they did. And then I left Twitter again, more or less, right after that. And
I randomly insulted someone and people were annoyed at my behavior. Wow. So weird.
everyone assumed that was why, and it wasn't.
No.
It was, I suppose in some sense it was, because what happened was an indication of the problem with Twitter. But I had been not reading Twitter comments for about 3 weeks, although I had been tweeting through an intermediary, one of my staff members. So I'd email him a tweet, but not reading comments because I found that quite
irksome.
Yeah,
Like you're associating with the
devil.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it was like sort of like standing in a public park where anybody, no matter who they were, could come up and yell at you to any size audience about anything they wanted, day or night. And so I've been thinking that through. I'm going to write an article about what's wrong with Twitter and social media in general. But
it is funny that this is going to spark an article from him. You know, I can't go and insult women on Twitter and not have blowback. I cannot believe it.
No, I looked at the Sports Illustrated cover, and they had a rather overweight young woman, quite symmetrical, so nice facial features and so forth, with a very...
That's interesting. He recognizes that she has nice facial features, but is... Okay.
revealing swimsuit on the cover. And I thought, no, like not in a personal way, but it's unbelievably manipulative for about 3 different reasons. The first is it's a very tawdry attempt to capitalize on cheap sales.
That is, backing up to the previous clip, that is being the baseline of a system, capitalizing on cheap sales. So why are you trying to change things here, Peterson?
I mean cheap in a specific way. Sports Illustrated hit the gold mine with their swimsuit cover, I suppose 20 years ago, whenever they established that. Because obviously it's a sports magazine, so it's about athletics. It's about athletic people. It's about athletic bodies. And they had a swimsuit issue, and it really was a big hit. And then it became
Kate Upton is not a sports model. Kim Kardashian was on it, I believe. Yeah, and not an athlete.
a cultural icon. And it's a very specific kind of cultural icon because it focuses on a very exceptional kind of high-end beauty. Mm-hmm. And so that beauty would involve symmetry and signals of youth, because that's part of beauty, sexual beauty.
Both things that she had, yes.
Physical beauty, waist-to-hip ratio for women. But with Sports Illustrated, it's also highlighting a kind of athleticism in body type. And that's a very specific form of beauty. You have to be young.
Again, not athletes always on these covers. I think even further back, there was not athletes on these covers. Osaka, the tennis player, she was on there. She's an athlete. Terrific one at that. So again, dumb take, doesn't... Dumb.
You have to be female, generally. You have to be extremely athletic. You have to be shapely in a very particular way, and that would be with a waist-to-hip
here we go.
ratio of 0.68, because that's what's been established cross-culturally as ideal from the perspective of male sexual interest, let's say, but that's also associated.
This is really strange to say that there's like one hip-to-weight ratio that is perfect, that is the pinnacle of beauty, for a lot of reasons. Like, generally, attraction I could see falls into like stereotypes, like the fat funny guy, for example, could have a bit of an attractive element to it. Tall athlete type, or there's types where I think people fall into, and that is a type of thing you could be attracted to. The idea that it's a hip to weight ratio of 0.68 being the only female beauty standard is really dumb. I do not get it. So no. Dumb.
Associated with fertility, and so it's a marker that has a biological basis. And so even if you're a very beautiful woman, you're hard pressed to be beautiful enough to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated for the swimsuit issue. And so it's a pinnacle achievement of sorts, and it's focused on a very idealized and specific form of beauty, and that's obviously exclusionary. It's obviously exclusionary. It excludes everyone. Right? And it does that to highlight a kind of ideal, and that's a particular ideal of beauty. And there are some cultural boundaries around that. So you could say, well, it's a westernized form of beauty. It's like, yeah, and you can point to Rubens' paintings of more plump women and say, well, there's an exception. It's like, great, you think you're a genius for finding that exception. Good for you. You know the Rubens painting. Like,
there's more than just the Rubens painting, and this is also the idea. Your counter evidence is not evidence. No, I'm sorry, it's not evidence. It's dumb. Dumb.
More power to you. But that doesn't mean anything at all about the universality of images of beauty. And
beauty is not universal. We don't tend to have things about women's feet anymore, but in China they sure did. Back, if you go even further back, plumpness was considered a trait because it was a symbol of wealth. This is completely ahistorical, and this is one of the things that I think you'll find that runs through many of these channels is when they say tradition, they just mean 100 years ago, 200 years ago, but go further back, that none of this shit's true. And cross culturally, you know. So Mix-a-Lot, I think, had a dissertation paper on the female body standards that he might approve of. I would.
So the cover bothered me a lot because it was a cheap manipulation of something that had been working very well for Sports Illustrated. It was also an insistence that all of a sudden this non-athletic body type is as beautiful as the standard swimsuit model for Sports Illustrated. And it's not. It's not as athletic, and it's not as healthy, and that's that. And it's also not arbitrary. And so the whole thing is a lie.
The whole thing is a lie. No, she's not. She's not cover material. Because I said so. Again, if a swimsuit edition wanted to put whoever the hell they wanted to put because they thought they would get sales, that's it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then it's a lie that's a manipulation of that young woman. Now, she partakes in that because she participates in it, but it's still, they're not on her side. They're exploiting her, as far as I'm concerned. And she may be participating in that exploitation, but they're still exploiting her. So don't pull any...
Most modeling is exploitative, to some degree, whether it's the insane eating habits or whether it's the hours or the coercion, both sexually and verbally. This is absolutely an element. So this one being somehow particular because they're giving into her weight, I have no idea.
Any moral stunts on me because you're irritated about my opinion about the Sports Illustrated cover when it's bloody clear to anybody with eyes that that was manipulative in 20 different ways. And I'm also not willing to sacrifice these ideals for inclusiveness. It's like, no.
Again, ideals. There's one society that we prescribe to, that we have, that we and nothing else around that. There has never been diversity of ideals, never anything else. Fuck off.
Not everyone's a genius. No, not everyone's Picasso. No, not everyone's young and healthy. And no, not everyone is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, period. And fuck you if you don't like it.
Thoughts?
This is funny because he's actually mad when he swears. That he actually, deep down, like, built a little hate baby and brought it out. So yeah, there's, I'll go over his other clip maybe. But he joined the Daily Wire, got kicked off of Twitter. I'm pretty sure that's kind of the end of that. I don't really need to tell you why that happened. It was a nice little stunt for them to pull. It was easy to dead name the individual involved. I'm blanking. Elliot Page. It was easy to dead name. It was easy to get kicked off through that. So yeah, that is why they did that. Let's see. Maybe I won't do that tonight. How long have I been streaming for? 2 hours? Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's see if I can make this into a component. We'll call this slider, and this will be a stand-in. Soy. Oh, beautiful. Good God. Yeah, save. There we go. How do I copy this? Copy, paste. Oh, nice. There we go. So these would just be standards because I think it'll be cheaper for me to make my own. We'll find out. Let's see. I'll have to work on that. Let me turn off these sketches again. Turn off construction. I think I just need 2 of them, so when we get into position, we can get that taken care of as well. Wonder if there's any other big political news I should go over at some point. Move. Components. Can it be the whole thing? looks like there's maybe a little bit of interference. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. Let's see if I can figure out what joint I need for this. I wonder if I can midpoint. Like, how am I supposed to do width mates in this thing? Because I would totally just use a width mate then. I struggle to withhold this beast. There we go. This will work. Nope. Yeah, but why do we have to turn it? Angle 0. Joints. $180? I don't know. Okay, well, either way, that's generally speaking about in place. Let's move that over here. We'll take this guy and we will mirror it across this plane again. And I will have that I'll have to figure out how to do this. Looks like I'll have to review my joints in this more. But what is the distance, perhaps, between these two? $270. Okay, that's pretty good. You see, I'll have to see if I like this still. When I come back tomorrow to do that and learn about Fusion more, I'll probably just watch an entire tutorial video on how to do a project in it. Let's see, is there any cool Twitter news? Yeah, come follow me, by the way, on, what's my Twitter handle even? Profile? Red Panda 425. Give me a follow. See what it's, I might start tweeting at some point. Also, if you don't, like the live stream, follow the channel, that'd be dope. Propaganda. Is Sean making a new video? I'm excited. I really like Sean's videos. I've seen that a ton of times. Seems like satire. Yeah, that is probably true. Cool. Is there any wait, what is this? Scale of transphobia. Oh, maybe I should go over some of those anti-gay bills coming out. I don't want trans people to exist. Yeah, that's about right. There's John Doyle, Crowder, Alex Jones, Michael Something, Matt Walsh, Nick Fuentes, J.K. Rowling, don't recognize, Dave Rubin, Joe Rogan? I've never heard, trans people and what changed my mind when presented with science or facts. Well, yeah. Is that Jason Hinkle? Bill Burr. I'm an ally to gender-affirming care, but gender-affirming care is childless, and we can talk about sports. Can we talk about sports or prisons? Yeah, that sounds about right for them. Yeah, so unfortunately, states have been cooking out anti-LGBTQ stuff quite quickly here, to the point where it's going to be pretty difficult, quite honestly. This one is even missing a key piece. Let's see. Let's start with the two Florida bills. The Don't Say Gay bill, obviously, was passed recently. Public school educators will be prohibited. There was a recent teachers meeting, Florida teacher meeting. Don't say gay. There was some pretty stiff restrictions. Let's see if this one goes over it. Can I get rid of that? Probably not. Don't say gay. Essentially, the idea was don't have gay flags up. Don't have pictures of your significant other if they're of the same gender / sex. This is key. Yeah. Here it goes. Representative of Orange County's associate accused the school Monday of verbally warning educators not to wear rainbow articles of clothing, to remove pictures of the same-sex spouses from their desks, and LGBTQ safe stickers from the classroom doors. This was the intentional outcome of the bill. Anyone trying to downplay it is either malicious or brain dead. I guess the latter one's better, but holy crap. Confirmed Teachers Association staff who come in to contact be cautioned of that. Yeah, it just simply by having, like, I knew my teachers had husbands and wives. I knew this. This isn't a problem. But there's an intentional push to make the LGBTQ purely a sexual thing for very catastrophic reasons. Here's the second one, the Stop Woke Act. This is also being passed in South Dakota. Florida's Individual Freedom Act. Sure, Individual Freedom Act. Yeah, that's America. Workplace and school states require training and instructions to make people feel personally responsible for historic wrongdoings because of the race, color, sex, or national origin. Again, this is just a way so that we don't ever have to address history, the part where, what did we get right and nothing else ever. Absolutely stupid. This also got passed in South Dakota. Indiana, let's see, non-law prevents transgender women and girls through high school from competing in sports consistent with their gender identity. Sweet, we managed to pass a bill. Well, millions of Americans don't have access to health care, live paycheck to paycheck. But we can pass a bill to prevent one high school student, from fucking playing sports. That makes America safer. Same thing in South Dakota. Same type of bill. Same with the Stop Woke Act. Also passed there. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed into law a measure pulling funding from schools that allow transgender sports athletes to not play on their team consisting of that. Yep. Although they've already, hold on, where was that line? Already bars transgender athletes from doing that, but we'll pull the funding too. Males from participating in public sports that are designated females. Legislation requires Tennessee College to determine a student gender athlete. Wait, hold on. Is this the same Ohio bill? The legislation requires Tennessee colleges to determine a student athlete's gender using the student's original birth certificate. Oh, thank God. Hopefully that doesn't get morphed into making them do a genital check, which we'll talk about in a second, in Ohio's creepy law. Under the law, the government entity, bird, adverse action with the law through sports, deprive students of athletic opportunity. The law expands existing internet from obscenity and pornography on school computers. Okay, good. That's weird. Previously, the exemption worry that the restrict resources. Oh, that is a really good point. Yeah, if gay people are purely sexual, then blocking obscenity and pornography would fall into that category. They want to block you from the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project does good work to prevent LGBT suicides. But they would like to block you from that. Somebody actually was talking about that the other day. Uh-oh. Do we have another video for me to go over? We might. The Rising. The Rising. Oh, it's at the top of this article. We'll play that in a second. At the top of the article, there's going to be something even dumber to go over. Again, banning one goddamn student. All research shows that there's little evidence to accept can reduce really such fear being directed. I don't understand what's going through, but I want them to live. Sure. Oh, thank God he did veto it. Later overridden. Cool, so still passed. Ohio had another similar law. Genital inspection law. Yeah, it is as disgusting as it effing sounds. People who did this are creepy as fuck. This will be targeting people in creepy ways. Yeah, this is the same language. You know, we don't like it, but I'm not gonna actually stick my neck out to defend it. Proposed transgender ban. To undergo a genital exam if the sex assigned at birth is disputed and is likely to be removed. Fucking hope so. Because less invasive measures like DNA testing is available. Who the fuck pays for the DNA testing? Yeah, this would really help affect poor people. And also, again, is fucking creepy because it could be applied to people as young as 12. I'm not sure why this bill is unnecessary, he said. Yeah, they like to do things unnecessarily for some reason. I wonder why. Similar to the voting that we talked about at the start of the live stream, they do things unnecessarily for no apparent reasons. Very intentional outcomes. They like to fucking scream the outcomes from the start, and some people don't decide not to listen. Signaled that the bill is the one of extremes. This is a highlight that a lot of people like to talk about because it outrages a lot of people. It is not necessary. It's not going to happen. Okay. Yep, fell short of condemning it because obviously you do. You don't actually care. You just don't want to look like the most extreme person on the extreme boat. Join another dozen, but it remains whether C like to win science and measure. Hope to God he doesn't. Hey, if you live in Ohio, write to him. I know it doesn't mean a lot, you know, but it's the fucking least we can do at this point. They're already fucking there. So, yeah, there's more bills to come. I forget how many more that I'd read a stat somewhere, but, you know, anti-LGBTQ bills are coming down the pipeline faster than federal protections will get them. Obviously, the Supreme Court is poised to allow sodomy laws back on the book. Texas has already signaled a want for that, as well as gay marriage could be straight up on the table as well. So that's pretty devastating there. You know, it stems from having lost the Supreme Court, which is why electoralism is the most frustratingly important thing that we have to do at a federal level. It's painful, but we have to. What are some other things? Historical. Yeah, that's a bit fucked up. Oh, this is the Jordan Peterson video there. What other elements of this? You know, we talked about when we were talking about a Christian nationalism bit that might get uploaded soon. We were talking about how they're trying to make like the LGBTQ perceived as a purely sexual thing. If you fall into this category, you know, you just a groomer, you that, etc. Lightyear. I fucking loved how many people lost their goddamn Matt. Did Matt Walsh respond to it? Crashes and burns. I don't know actually if it did well or not, but you know, these guys all went fucking haywire that there was a gay kiss in Lightyear. You know, I think it was a lesbian kiss. It doesn't, like, come the fuck on. Again, obvious reasons why they want this to happen. I don't think it's short to say they want you dead. If you go back through history, a lot of people who were gay during the McCarthy era were killed. It's not weird. It's happened before and it will happen again. It's not some abnormality of where we currently are. It is a constant backslide. So, well, I am closing down, I think. So, I'm Panda, and this is Politics and Calipers. Hopefully I will remember actually how to use Fusion 360 a bit more next time, and we'll get a bit further. And maybe No Name will be back on this weekend. With that, I will call it a night. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good rest of your nights. Give a like and subscribe.